Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we on? Welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast, everybody. This is going to be a quick one because we got so many things going on. I just wanted to discuss one thing with you, Santi.
Yes.
First, how was your golf?
It was amazing.
What'd you shoot?
I shot 100, which is pretty bad.
What's with the sexy voice? What happened?
I don't know. My
You
throat's
sound
like itchy.
so
It might be
1-900
allergies.
Santi.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
I usually shoot around 90, 95, but today was 100, so.
He just blew off the voice, though. You don't know what happened at all?
Sometimes, I don't know.
You just woke up?
Kind of like this, yeah.
Yeah, we won't talk about why I think your voice is that way, Santi. We
okay.
won't discuss it. Santi, you get a lot more lessons if you use that voice.
Oh, really?
Come back again. How are you? Did you like the lesson? I'm Coach Santi. No, we got like 10 minutes. So I just want to discuss one little phrase that has been hitting my head all week, Santi. All week. Which is a huge phrase for everyone to learn.
What's the phrase?
Okay. Ability is reliability.
Ability is reliability.
That's really all it is. That's what ability is. Ability is reliability. So if you are not reliable, you don't have any ability. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't show up to exercise that talent, it doesn't matter. So you can equate this to anything. You can equate this to say, oh, right, Nick Kyrgios doesn't practice enough or practice hard or whatever. Or anybody it may be. You could have the greatest talent in the world, and if you don't have the ability to show up and be reliable, you're not going to achieve anything. So 90% of life is showing up and just doing it. And that's all it is. That's 90% of life. Because if you're in for short-term gain, I really can't, like, I forget the CEO of Markel Company, which is a publicly traded company, Tony, I forget his name, and I should remember. Fantastic thought process. Markel's very much like Berkshire Hathaway, where they think of the long term, long game, long term, and that's in tennis. You have to be that way too. You can't think short term games. You have to think long term, because if you don't, you're gonna cut corners, and you're gonna think of ways to say, I'm gonna hack this and hack that. You can't. So a perfect example is if I'm going to bet on a 100-meter race, a short-term race, and Usain Bolt is running, I think I'm going to put all my money on Usain Bolt, right? I can't compete with short-term talents like that. I can't compete with short-term thinking, but I can compete with long-term tenacity and stick-to-itiveness. It doesn't take much talent to be reliable. And you can compete on any level. And you can think about this tennis, you can think about this in anything, if you have enough stick-to-itiveness. And I'm not saying you're going to beat Djokovic and all that, but you can be moderately successful if you think long-term and say, I'm going to stick through this and not think short-term. I mean, it's like putting money in your 401k or your Roth, not you, Santi, don't worry, or your Roth IRA when you're 17 years old and doing it every year, you're just going to be rich. It doesn't take any talent.
Yeah.
Compound and capitalism, the C&C, will make you rich. So it just goes to show you, it doesn't take any real smarts to be successful if you think long term. So if you just say, hey, you can put $7,500 away in your Roth IRA. If you do that every year, that doesn't take a lot of talent. It's just reliability and discipline. It's amazing. People can become rich in the simplest ways or be successful in the simplest ways, but and we've discussed this, these industries are worth trillions of dollars because people need babysitters. And they need people to help them with it. There's really no mystery. Again, eat well, work out, you'll be healthy. Save 20% of your money and you'll be rich. There's nothing else to do. But it's really hard, and people need to realize that reliability is the ability. And that's the key to understand. If you are reliable, you have ability. Just because most people don't show up. I mean, you speak to us personally. Like it's just the way life is. It has nothing to do with us, with certain companies or businesses. We'll have people work 3 weeks, then they don't show up, or they work there. It just happens. People are just not interested in somehow being consistent. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Do you have any comments on that? Any thoughts?
I mean, what I find interesting about like work ethic and being reliable and stuff, I remember like growing up as an Asian kid, like I feel like it's disrespectful to not show up for a class or like to not show up for, even though like, you're paying, like in college, you pay for a class, you don't really want to go, but you go anyway because it seems disrespectful to the professor, or even if you have a job, to your boss to tell them that, you're not going to be there or something like that. You always like make it a way to figure out how to tell them to be respectful, at least to your, whatever you're doing, to make it, you just don't want to be a dick about it, I guess. And I feel like a lot of like the American mindset, and especially younger people now, they kind of just, maybe sometimes they do whatever they want. And then especially in the world of tennis and stuff, you can't expect to just play like once a week or like come to every other, you sign up for 14 weeks, you come maybe 8 out of the 14 weeks, and you expect to be really good by the end. You're not going to be good by the end. And if you come, sure, okay, here's another thing. If you come every day for the 14 weeks, right, are you putting in the effort and energy and paying attention and doing what we say? And then maybe you could expect to be better. But if you're not doing all that stuff, you're not going to be better. You have to want it. You have to put in the effort to get it.
The 14 weeks to me is a start. If you come every week for 14 weeks, it's a start.
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, what was it, Rose Blumpkin or something? Warren Buffett's one of his managers. She ran in Nebraska furniture something. I forget what it was. But she worked till she was 104. And this woman was a beast.
That's crazy.
Crazy. She was just unbelievable. They said, what do you do on your spare time? She goes, I go to the competitors' parking lots, and I sit there and watch them. 96 years old she was at this point.
What?
Looking at the activity going in and out. Now, that's an extreme. But you want to talk about, like, she was unbelievably successful. She sold her business to Buffett for $60 million. Then her grandkids wanted her out. So she started a competitive one, a competitor across the street, and then Buffett bought that for $5 million. Like, it was crazy. So she wasn't. You ever see Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
Where Bill Murray's like, well, maybe God's just around every day and he knows everything. They said she was a genius. She's just been around every day for years and knows everything, ins and outs, study. And Bill Gurley, who's an incredible investor, you should listen to it. It's called Running Down a Dream. He does a talk for the MBA school at University of Texas. And he said, there's no excuse for not being the most knowledgeable person in your field. I'm not telling you to be the most talented or smartest, but all the information's free.
Yeah.
Everything out here is free. You could be the most knowledgeable person in your field. You should never be out-knowledged by anybody. Because when I was a kid, I had to go to the library and get an encyclopedia and luckily find the information that was printed a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, there is no excuse for not being the most knowledgeable. So... all that, that's really where I was at. Because we're running around doing 1,000 things. It's just the number one talent you can have is being reliable. Yeah. Number one. So reliability comes knowledge, right? You can have reliable knowledge. You can have reliable attendance. All of that stuff. That's reliability. That doesn't take talent. So
it's easy to do too.
Yeah, it's easy.
Just show up.
But in the same thing, it's hard. Because every single day you get up and you do it, and you do it, and you do it. And that takes wherewithal. That takes tenacity. People don't want to do that. They want to work for a month and go, I'm tired. I'd like to get a raise. Or they want to practice hard for a month and go, where's my results? Yeah. This doesn't happen. Always, success is lagging. But anyways, I got to run today. But everybody, answers in the actions. Good luck. Ability is reliability. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.